I've been thinking a lot about what kind of knitting I want for this winter. Not in a very ambitious way, but more in a realistic, cozy way, while keeping the excitement level up. And I came up with a small, intentional lineup that just feels right for this season. I've got a basket full of yarn and a yarn package that just arrived at my doorstep, so get comfy and let's see what I've been planning for my needles this winter. Hi and welcome. My name is Luisa, but everyone calls me Lu. Today we are talking knitting plans. Winter knitting for me is always a little bit slower and more intentional. I'm trying to choose projects I'll enjoy knitting and actually want to wear once they are done. This season I want a mix of comfort knitting and the occasional challenge with both garments and accessories. I like learning new techniques, but I don't want every project to feel demanding. I'm also trying to play a bit with color and yarn, working from stash when I can, but leaving room to try something new if it feels right. Some projects are familiar favorites, some are a little unexpected, but all of them feel like a good fit for winter. So let's jump to the number one spot on my must cast on list, which is the Salty Days sweater by Veronica Lindberg. This is a widely known pattern, dropped shoulder featuring some lace details and a little bit of cable, very much a wear all the time kind of knit. Everyday piece, just put it on and I'm good to go kind of sweater, which is exactly what I'm looking for this season. I already made two, but my first one ended up small and I frogged it. I didn't understand much about gauge at the time, so I made a lot of mistakes, but also noticed some things I would like to change in the future. The second time around, the sweater ended up perfect, but it was a gift knit, so I didn't get to keep it. This time around, I want to make one for myself with a lot of modifications. First of all, I want to add a little bit of stretch to that slanted shoulder detail at the back of the sweater, and I also want to play around a little bit with the lace panels and the cable section also. I love the texture, but at the same time this is a very easy and quick project, which I love, and this is exactly what I'm looking for this season. And when it comes to the yarn, the suggested yarn is one strand of DK weight plus one strand of lace weight mohair. I plan on using stash yarn for this project, or at least for the main yarn, and my plan is to use this Lana Grossa Uni Mylan White in the colorway 1380, which is this lovely dark pink. I plan on pairing it with a new to me mohair that just arrived, by the way. This package arrived 10 or so minutes before I started recording, so I thought it would be nice to open this package together with you guys, and we'll see what I have here. I've got my scissors here with me, so let's see what came in the mail. This is what I'm looking for. Yeah. So my plan is to pair this dark pink with this Katia Concept 50 shades, 50 mohair shades in the colorway 39. I think this is going to be a good pair. I was expecting a little bit of a darker pink, but I think this would work nicely. Yeah, I think it will. So this is my idea for my Salty Days sweater. The yarn I used on my first Salty Days was a very light pink, like a ballerina pink, something like that. But I want something a little bit more moody, darker, and I think this would be a nicer fit for this winter. This is, without a doubt, the number one spot on my must cast on list. Next up is the Rubinia sweater by Invencio. This sweater is going to be the slow introduction to my colorwork journey, as I'm calling it. It has some visual interest without it feeling too precious, which is nice, otherwise I would never wear this. And this one is worked from the top down with dropped shoulders and a boat neck. Can I call this a boat neck? I think I'm right. The color work looks simple and straightforward, So I think I can do it. I have almost zero experience with color work, so I think this is a good pattern to start my color work journey. The sleeves though look quite roomy, so I think I will maybe size down in the pattern where I'm picking up stitches around the armhole to start working on the sleeves. Now when it comes to the yarn, this pattern uses a lot of strands held together. For the beige section, it's actually just one yarn, which is this Isager Soft. This is a new to me yarn. I'm very excited to try this out. And this is colorway E6S. But for the blue section, the pattern recommends holding 3 different strands together, and I'm not following the recommended yarn, otherwise this project would be way too expensive for my liking. So first of all, it is 1 strand of lace weight wool plus a mohair plus a tweed yarn, which is I think sport weight. I am going with the recommended yarn for the tweed strand, and I'm going to use Isager Tweed in the same colorway as the pattern sample, which is colorway Navy, in this lovely dark blue. What I really like about this tweedy yarn by Isager is that the tweedy speckles, I don't know how to call this, they are also blue or a little bit of white. Sometimes when you go buy tweedy yarn, the speckles are, the tweedy bits are pink and yellow and things like that. And I really prefer the same color for the tweedy bits. But I'm not going to pair with a mohair yarn. I'm going to use Isager Alpaca 1. This is 100% lace weight alpaca, and it is way cheaper than mohair for this project. And I think I'm going to get the same effect, kind of. So this is colorway 100, and it is what I'm going to use, substituting the mohair strand. And I'm going to pair this with Filcolana Saga. This is 100% lace weight wool. Yeah, 100% virgin wool. And this is my idea. This is colorway 212. So this is going to become my Robinia sweater, and I'm so excited. The sizing range for this sweater is not good, yes, but I already have the pattern, and I've been daydreaming about this project for so many years that I decided I'm going to do it. I already have the pattern, so I might as well knit it up. And next up is the Afra sweater by Iron Lynn. I'm so excited to work on this project. This is a slightly different silhouette to keep things interesting, and it has a lot of design elements. There's the V-neck, the puffy sleeves, the twisted rib accent, which I love, and there's a kind of a chevron-like effect at the body and a little bit at the sleeve also. The pattern is cropped, but I'll probably add a couple of centimeters to the body and possibly make some modifications to the sleeves. I don't want such a puffy sleeve as the pattern photos, so maybe something a little bit more fitted. I still want quite a bit of room around my arms, but I don't like such a puffy sleeve. I think I'm going to make quite a mess around me with such a puffy sleeve, and I love V necklines. But I never worked on a V-neck sweater, so I'm very excited to work on this. When it comes to construction, this pattern is worked seamlessly from the top down with satin sleeves. I think this is the right terminology for this sleeve construction. I think it is called satin sleeve, but I could be wrong. The suggested yarn, I'm a little bit confused about that, because the suggested yarn is Cardiff Cashmere Classic, which is 100% cashmere DK weight. But looking at some project pages on Ravelry, I saw people using fingering weight, sport weight, and DK weight yarns, and they all made it work. So my idea is to use a little bit of stash yarn. This is Drops Flora in the colorway 07, this light beige shade, this light beige shade, and this is 65% wool and 35% alpaca. It is fingering weight, but maybe I can make it work. I don't know, I'm still undecided on the yarn, but this is what I have in stash. that would maybe work for this project. So my next step is going to be a swatch. I think I'm going to swatch for this sweater and see if I can make my gauge work with this Drops Flora. If not, then I will buy some DK weight yarn to knit up this Afra sweater. But this is definitely going to be part of my winter knitting plans. Now there's an open slot, a fourth and final slot for a sweater in my plans, and I know myself well enough to know that I will probably want to work on another sweater this winter, so this is why I have an open slot, and I'm still undecided between three different patterns. The first one is the Facet Sweater by Lenit. This is a more graphic and bold pattern. It's a more ambitious colorwork idea, so maybe I'll work on this if I'm feeling confident after I finished my Robinia sweater. So maybe this is a possibility. I am tempted, but I definitely want to work on the Robinia sweater first. I think this is going to be sort of like a slow progression in my colorwork journey. It is knitted top down with raglan shaping and short floats, so I think I could make this work. I have two yarns in stash that maybe would look good in the Facet sweater. This is two different Arveta colorways. The light one is colorway 140 and the dark one is 245. So maybe I can make this work. This is just an idea, not a concrete plan. And my second contestant is the Dot Sweater by Pernille Larsen or Knitting for Olive. This is more of a playful texture, softer statement, easy to knit for Isle dot pattern, at least according to the pattern page. I've never done for Isle, so this would be a new technique to try, which makes me excited to cast this on. It is also a top-down raglan construction, and I could work from stash with this using little bits and pieces of stash yarn that I have, because each dot row, let's say, uses around 6 grams of yarn, so I think I can make this work with stash yarn and just buy yarn for the white main yarn, which is what I got when I went to Nuremberg to buy yarn for my winter projects. I got a couple of balls of this Lana Grossa Cetasuri in the colorway 01. This is 65% alpaca, 31% silk. So I think this could be a nice mohair alternative. This is my plan. If I end up casting on the Dot sweater, I just have to get my hands on a fingering weight white wool to pair with this Lana Grossa Cetasuri. I have no idea how to pronounce this, but this is a new to me yarn, so it makes me extra excited to try this out and cast on this pattern. I think I would definitely have a lot of fun with this project. And the final sweater pattern that's been inspiring me lately is the Cyril sweater by Moroccan Knit. I've never knitted any of her patterns, so it would be nice to try out a new to me designer. And this has a very interesting construction. It is basic with a twist. This pattern is worked top down, but you start with a provisional cast on for the back yoke, which is worked bottom up, and then you pick up stitches to knit the shoulders, join two fronts once the front panel is done, and continue working on a regular dropped shoulder construction. So this construction definitely has me very intrigued to see how this works. I love the deep slits at the body and the sleeves. I don't have anything with this kind of design, with this kind of silhouette. So that has me excited to cast this on. I think this would be a more relaxing project. So maybe if I'm feeling stressed after I finish the Robinia sweater or the Afra sweater, this would be a good palette cleanser and relaxing project. I plan on using the recommended yarn, which is Filcolana Pernilla. This is 100% Peruvian Highland wool, and this is colorway 357. I don't know the colorway name, I forgot to check their website, but this is a brown, orangey, red color. Very lovely. I am trying to lean away from rusty colors because I'm noticing I tend to gravitate towards rusty colors when I'm knitting sweaters. So I think this would be a good alternative. When I bought this yarn online, I actually saw a project page on Ravelry for the Zero sweater, and the knitter used these two yarns. So I just bought the same colorways, hoping I would receive a more pinkish color, kind of, but this is more like brownie orangey thing. But I think I'm going to make this work. I think it will look nice, and my plan is to pair it with Filcolana Tilia, which I'm using for the first time now. Actually, I'm working on the Violeta pullover, which is right over there, and I am absolutely loving this. This is 70% kid mohair and 30% silk, but this is colorway 350. I think this is called Sienna, but I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But this is my idea for the Zero sweater. Now, I went back and forth on adding a cardigan to this lineup, but I think I want to focus on sweaters and a couple of accessories this winter. So my next project on my winter lineup list is a neck accessory, and the one I have in mind is the Solange scarf by Anne Wenzel. I love working on neck and head accessories because it is the best way, in my opinion, to play with colors without committing to an entire sweater or an entire garment in a color that I might find myself not wanting to wear that much. So every time I want to play a little bit with colors, go a little bit out of my comfort zone. I like to do that when I'm working in some sort of accessory, and this time I chose the Solange scarf. Accessories are my best friend in the winter because I'm very prone to headaches because of the cold. So I always like to keep my neck area and my forehead very toasty, very warm to avoid having headaches. And I think this project looks very elevated but simple at the same time, with a subtle texture that is going to be easy to knit, and I think I'm going to enjoy this project very much. It looks easy to style also, which is very important for me because I never know how to style my neck accessories. I talked about this in my last podcast episode 21, I think. But yeah, being easy to style is a huge bonus and very important in my must-have list. I also love the shape of this scarf. It is not wide, but it's very long, so maybe that's why I think it is going to be easy to style. I could wrap it 2 times around my neck, which is always good for a toasty factor. And the yarn I have in mind is also a little bit of stash yarn. This is BC Yarn Bio Shetland in the colorway 56. Yeah, in the colorway 56, like a grass green, maybe. It's definitely more of a vivid, let's say, green. I'm not really comfortable using this color for a sweater, so I think I want to try this out with a neck accessory first before I commit to an entire garment. And my plan is to pair this with something that just arrived also, and this is going to be a new to me yarn. This is, and my bag just fell on the floor, but I'll pick it up later. This is Lana Grossa Silk Hair in the colorway 178. This is kind of a moss green, so definitely a little bit darker than my main yarn. So I think this is going to pair really nicely. We'll see. My idea is that this mohair will tone everything down a little bit and create more of a moody green, moss green. I hope I can make it work. The suggested yarn is a DK weight plus 1 strand of mohair, and my plan is to use a fingering plus mohair, so maybe I'll have to make a couple of adjustments when it comes to size to have good finish measurements. I want to play around, I want to experiment with colors, with yarn weights and everything, so I'm very excited about this project. And my final project for winter is going to be a matching beanie. I want matchy things. This winter a set of accessories. I don't have matching beanies and scarves, so this would be my first set. My first idea was a heavy textured beanie, maybe some intricate lace or cables. But since I want to cast on the Solange scarf, it has to be something a bit lighter in texture, let's say, to match the Solange scarf. So my current plan is to cast on a Musselburgh hat by Isolde Teague and maybe make some modifications to the pattern to add the same texture from the Solange scarf, maybe to the brim or maybe to the entire body of the beanie. I don't know, I'm still not decided on that, but I think this would be a calm, comforting project. The Musselburgh hat is very interesting because it's kind of double layered. You cast on stitches for the crown of the hat, work all the increases the pattern has you do, and then you basically work on a very long section of socknet stitch in the round, and then you work the decreases to create the second crown of the hat, because you fold one crown inside the other, and then you get a double layered fabric with a wide brim, which is always my preferred style for head accessories. I like a really wide brim with 8 or so centimeters, and maybe I could add the Solange scarf texture to the brim. I don't know. If you have a favorite beanie pattern that would work with the Solange scarf, let me know in the comments below. I would highly appreciate. I looked on Ravelry for something with the same texture, but I couldn't find. So my current plan is the Musselburgh hat with a couple of modifications to make it matchy with the Solange scarf, but I don't know, I'm definitely open to ideas and suggestions, and I would highly appreciate them. Now, since I want things to really match, my plan is to use the same yarn combo for the hat, which means I'm going to have mohair next to my forehead. I am a little bit worried about that because I've seen many people commenting on the itchiness factor of mohair next to the forehead. So my idea, at least for now, if I end up casting the Musselburgh hat, is to only introduce the mohair strand when I'm working on the outside layer of the hat. That way I won't have any mohair really touching my forehead. When I'm working on the inside layer, let's say, maybe I would just use one strand of this BioShetland wool, which is 100% wool. So I know it is not itchy, at least not for me. But these are my winter knitting plans right now. A mix of comfort, curiosity, and intention, which is always nice. Like I said, not very ambitious, but I'm definitely going to have a lot of fun this winter. I still have to make up my mind between the three sweaters, so if you want to share with me your opinion, I would love to know. I will be sharing more reflections and ideas in my next podcast episode, but this lineup is already making me feel excited for the season. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. If you're celebrating, I wish you a very Merry Christmas. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, give this video a like and ring the bell so you don't miss future videos. I have some exciting plans for the upcoming year and I will see you on the next one. Bye!